Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a long day of headache when it comes to all the developments today in Westminster in Parliament. We're going to stay with you guys throughout most of today, either via live streams or video updates. We have the Rishi Sunak's Brexit vote and debate, which is happening now for the next 90 minutes. We're going to be covering that when the vote comes. But for now, we're going to also cover what's going on in one of the committee rooms in the Houses of Parliament. Privileges Committee are gathering any moment now to discuss Boris Johnson's fate and the so-called British version of impeachment because of him misleading Parliament when he was Prime Minister over the Partygate issue. Yes, Partygate is still going on. We're sick and tired of it. But we have to cover these sort of things because it's all linked to everything else that's happening, including Rishi Sunak's leadership. Hello to everybody in the live chat. We're going to come to you guys throughout the live streams to get your reaction, to get your comments and questions as well. And I'm going to put the screen on when we get Boris Johnson appearing on TV. Let's just double check everything's ready. I believe, there we go. I think we have, yep, Boris Johnson and the committee are ready. Let's go to Parliament and see what's going on with this saga. All right. It's still quiet. Hang on one second. All right, we have the feed. We have the live feed from the House of Commons, and let's just double check to see everything's fine. Yep, cool. Okay, so as we wait to find out more about this committee, just a quick update. This morning we had Boris Johnson and Liz Truss, two former prime ministers, making a move against Rishi Sunak. It's basically them taking their revenge. And essentially, the Brexit vote is going to be a bit of a headache for the government. Steve Baker, who used to be the king of ERG, the European Research Group, and one of the top Brexiteers at the time who fought against Theresa May's deal, is now part of Rishi Sunak's government, which means that he's gone against everything that he used to say as a backbencher. He's supporting the deal, obviously, and he came out earlier this morning. We already did that video. Actually, Boris Johnson is now here. Let's make sure everything's fine. I don't understand why we don't have sound. I'm going to double check with that in a second. He came out and said Boris Johnson and Liz Truss must support the deal, otherwise Boris Johnson is a pound shop Nigel Farage. That's really weird. Okay, so let's double check. I'm going to quickly put the sound on for you guys to hear. Let's go to the House of Commons.
Let's listen in. Oh, well, we don't actually have any sound yet, but Harriet Harman obviously opening proceedings there, setting the scene. Jill Rutter, Senior Fellow from the Institute for Government, has just joined us. And Jill, just explain to us, set the scene for us as to what we are watching.
1 second, let's just... There we go. Okay, sound is coming up now.
This is what the House of Commons, Boris Johnson's evidence session to something called the Privileges Committee, which is a committee of 7 MPs, Conservative majority, but chaired, as you just said, by that very senior Labour backbencher, Harriet Harman. And that's going to determine
go to the live chat
Boris
as well.
Johnson
Can you double check if the sound is
Parliament
fine
when he gave those assurances over Partygate? So one of the questions they were trying to explore is, did he do that knowingly and deliberately? Did he do it what they've termed recklessly? So they're going to be
let's
the evidence that he put in.
Let's wait for them first. So we have Mira saying, what a waste of public money, all parasites. We had Laurie saying, when are they all going to jail? This reminds me, let's not forget that this committee is currently chaired by Harriet Harman, of all people, which is also a fascinating development, considering that people like Harriet Harman and the Labour Party have already been biased against Boris Johnson. I'm not even defending Boris here, but this committee is not really impartial or balanced, let's just say. Okay, so we got some Boris Johnson supporters in the live chat. Love Bojo, cannot help it. There we go, we have the
security or market sensitivity, but misleading intentionally or recklessly, or refusing to answer, or failing to correct, impedes or frustrates the functioning of the House and is contempt. During the COVID pandemic, the government and Parliament imposed extensive restrictions on our freedom in the interest of protecting public health. In this inquiry, we are not looking at the rights or wrongs of those COVID rules or guidance.
Thank you, Phil.
Or repeating the Partygate inquiry into the conduct of individual ministers and officials in number 10. What the House has mandated us to look at is whether Mr Johnson told the truth to Parliament to the best of his knowledge about number 10's compliance with those COVID rules and guidance. It is about the truth, and that is why this inquiry goes to the heart of the trust on which our system of accountability depends.
Love when politicians care about the truth.
This committee is comprised of members of Parliament who have been appointed to this role by the House of Commons. The political balance on this committee reflects the political balance in the House, which is why the committee comprises 4 Conservatives and 3 opposition MPs, including 2 from Labour and 1 from the SNP. Having said that, we leave our party interests at the door of the committee room and conduct our work in the interests of the House. That is what we're doing in this inquiry and what we will continue to do.
Sure.
We are examining what Mr Johnson said to the House about gatherings in number 10, whether what he said to the House was correct or not, whether, and if so, how quickly and comprehensively any misleading statement was corrected. If a statement was misleading, we will then consider whether that was a genuine error or if it was reckless or intentional, and whether the record was corrected in good time. We have already considered evidence supplied by the government, including emails, WhatsApp messages, and photos taken at the time, and written statements taken under oath from witnesses present at the relevant times, to inform us of what Mr Johnson would have known at the time of his statements to the House. There has been much comment about whether the committee is relying on the Sue Gray report material. We are not relying on any such material, and nor will we. Last November, we decided to collect direct, first-hand evidence from all the witnesses under oath, and this has all been disclosed to Mr Johnson. Sue Gray is not a witness. We have followed the standing orders of the House and the precedents as advised by our clerks, by Speaker's Counsel, and by Sir Ernest Ryder, a former Lord Justice of Appeal. We have not changed the rules or the procedure. That is not within our remit. They are laid down by the House, we are bound to follow them, and that is what we've done. In our report of the 3rd of March, we set out the main issues which we will be asking Mr Johnson about today. We'll be talking about rules and guidance, since Mr Johnson told the House number 10 complied with both.
I agree with that.
When we refer issued by the government. For example, when Mr Johnson was talking about hands, face, space, he was referring to the guidance on social distancing when he said space.
Okay.
On the basis of information that is in the public domain and evidence the committee has received, and in the context of what Mr Johnson said to the House of Commons, we will be establishing what rules and guidance relating to COVID were in force at the relevant time, Mr Johnson's knowledge of those rules and guidance, Mr Johnson's attendance at or knowledge of gatherings that were not socially distanced and those for which fixed penalty notices were issued. Mr Johnson spoke about the question of COVID compliance in number 10 in the House of Commons more than 30 times, most particularly on the 1st of December 2021, the 8th of December 2021, and the 25th of May 2022. I'd like us all to have a reminder now of some of what Mr Johnson said in Parliament in answer to questions, starting, if we may, with a question from the Leader of the Opposition on the 1st of December.
As millions of people were locked down last year,
Here we go.
was a Christmas party thrown in Downing Street for dozens of people on December the 18th?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, what I can tell the right honourable gentleman is that is that all guidance was followed completely during number 10. But I repeat, Mr. Speaker, that I have been repeatedly assured since these allegations emerged that there was no party and that no COVID rules were broken, and that is what I have been repeatedly assured. I apologise for the impression that has been given that staff in Downing Street take this less than seriously. I'm sickened myself and furious about that. But I repeat what I have said to him, that I have been repeatedly assured that the rules were not broken.
The Prime Minister has been caught red-handed. Why doesn't he end the investigation right now by just admitting it?
Because, Mr. Speaker, I've been repeatedly assured that no rules were broken.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the Prime Minister tell the House whether there was a party in Downing Street on the 13th of November?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, no, but I'm sure that whatever happened, the guidance was followed and the rules were followed at all times. And I'm happy to set on the record now that when I came to this House and said in all sincerity that the rules and guidance had been followed at all times, it was what I believed to be true. It was certainly the case when I was present at gatherings to wish staff farewell, and the House will note that my attendance at these moments, brief as it was, has not been found to be outside the rules. But clearly this was not the case for some of those gatherings after I had left, and at other gatherings when I was not even in the building.
Thank you. We need to understand
why
Mr. Johnson said to Parliament that no rules or guidance were broken in number 10, when we have evidence that he knew what the rules and guidance were, and that he was present at gatherings where those rules and guidance were breached. We have yet to reach our conclusions in this inquiry, and we will not do so until we have heard and considered Mr. Johnson's evidence today.
Okay, before we get to go, I'm gonna put it on full screen. Sorry, guys, give me a second. There we go.
And this is Mr.
Let's make it easier, because that's not really helping. There we go.
To give us his answers. Will the clerk to the committee please administer the oath?
There we go. Thank you for the super chat, guys.
And read out the terms of the oath.
Yes, I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give for this committee shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Johnson, you provided the committee with a written submission which the committee has published. Do you confirm that the contents of that statement are true?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson,
I do.
Please make your opening statement.
Thank you. Chair, if I can, before I begin, I'm conscious that we're all expected to vote in a few minutes. I think at 2:21. I hope you don't mind if I resume. I mean, it will break up what I'm about to say.
Well, we're a parliamentary committee and Parliament is continuing. If there is a vote called, which we do expect, I will suspend the sitting to enable members to vote, and we can pick up from where we left off. But thanks for reminding everybody that that's what's going to be happening.
Thank you, Chair. Well, as you've just said, there were a number of days over a period of 20 months when gatherings took place in Downing Street that went past the point where they could be said to be necessary for work purposes. That was wrong. I bitterly regret it. I understand public anger, and I continue to apologise for what happened on my watch, and I take full responsibility. But as you've just said, Chair, the purpose of this inquiry is not to reopen so-called Partygate. It is to discover whether or not I lied to Parliament, wittingly misled colleagues and the country about what I knew and believed about those gatherings when I said that the rules and the guidance had been followed at number 10. I'm here to say to you, hand on heart, that I did not lie to the House. When those statements were made, they were made in good faith and on the basis of what I honestly knew and believed at the time. When this inquiry was set up, I was completely confident that you would find nothing to show I knew or believed anything else, as indeed you have not. I was confident, not because there's been some kind of cover-up. I was confident because I knew that is what I believed, and that is why I said it.
Still saying the same thing.
To understand why I believed it, you have to go back to a time before the Sue Gray report, before the police investigation, back to a time where, as the evidence before the committee shows, there was a near universal belief at Number 10 that the rules and guidance were being complied with. That is the general belief that has been uncovered by your evidence. And it was that belief that governed what I said in the House. And as soon as it was clear that I was wrong, and as soon as the Sue Gray investigation and the Metropolitan Police investigation had concluded, I came to the House of Commons and I corrected the record as I promised I would. I clearly could not have anticipated the outcome by coming earlier because I genuinely did not know what the outcome would be and was deeply shocked when fines were issued, not least since I had been told on a couple of occasions at least by Sue Gray that she did not think the threshold of criminality had been reached. I believe that the committee's work helps to explain why I was so shocked. You've been investigating this for more than 10 months, and I thank you for what you have done. You have had access to a vast body of evidence. You have collected and reviewed hundreds of pages of transcripts of Sue Gray's interviews, and you have analysed many thousands of contemporary emails and WhatsApp messages and other material. You found nothing to show that I was warned in advance that events in Number 10 were illegal. In fact, nothing to show that anyone raised anxieties with me about any event, whether before or after it had taken place. If there had been such anxiety about a rule-breaking event at Number 10, it would unquestionably have been escalated to me. We all knew how vital it was to maintain public confidence in the fight against COVID, that we should do what we were asking the public.
Yeah, 10 months, I know. Took 8.
There's only one exception, of course, and that's the testimony of Dominic Cummings, which is unsupported by any documentary evidence and which plainly cannot be relied upon. He has every motive to lie. Not only has the committee found nothing incriminating, it has gathered a huge amount of evidence which demonstrates very clearly that those working in Number 10 shared my belief that the rules and the guidance were being followed, and that I received assurances that there was no rule breaking at Number 10. The best and fairest course now would be for the committee to publish all the evidence it has assembled so that Parliament and public can judge for themselves. Despite my repeated requests, the committee has refused to do this. As investigator, prosecutor, judge and jury, it has elected only to publish the evidence which it considers incriminating and not the evidence which I rely on and which answers the charges. And despite assurances that we would be permitted to add material that we rely on into the core bundle published today, late last night we were told that the committee was not willing to publish a large number of extracts which I rely upon in my defence. That is manifestly unfair. Instead, and in the absence of any evidence that I deliberately misled Parliament, the committee is trying to mount an argument that I must have known that the guidance was not being followed and that I buried in my head as we were fighting COVID was an unarticulated belief that even if we were following the rules, we were somehow failing to follow the guidance. And you have in your 4th report suggested that it must have been obvious to me because you have the photographs. So let me deal with this point head on, because it is nonsense.
There we go.
These photos have now been churned through the media for more than a year, and it seems to be the view of the committee and sadly many members of the public that they show me attending rule-breaking parties where no one was social distancing. They show nothing of the kind. They show me giving a few words of thanks at a work event for a departing colleague. They show me with my red box passing on the way to another meeting or heading back into my flat to carry on working often late into the night. They show a few people standing together as permitted by the guidance where full social distancing is not possible and where mitigating measures are taken. They show events which I was never
That's a good point, actually,
for attending.
Rishi Sunak.
I know the public will have had the impression that these were covert photos with their sinister pixelations that have been obtained by the media. The vast majority were in fact taken by the official number 10 photographer. To say that we would have held illicit events in number 10 while allowing these events to be immortalised by an official photographer is staggeringly implausible. There are a couple of photos where the event is captured on Zoom as well as by the official photographer, which only reinforces the point. If we had an event with it we believed was illicit or unauthorised, why would we have it on Zoom when you never quite know who is on the other side?
True.
Most important of all, if it was obvious to me that these events were contrary to the guidance and the rules, then it must have been equally obvious to dozens of others, including the most senior officials in the country, all of them, like me, responsible for drawing up the rules. And it must have been obvious.
He does seem confident, as Stella says.
The current Prime Minister.
Vote. There we go.
Order.
Vote.
We will now suspend the sitting whilst the House of Commons votes, and we will reconvene in 15 minutes.
Let me just check.
Thank you.
Okay, this is the Brexit vote. All right, so basically we're gonna I'm gonna review and analyze what's happened so far. Then we're gonna actually move to a different live stream to give you guys the result of the Brexit vote. So basically, what we have is Boris Johnson, as Stella says, seems confident. But again, it's at this point it's all technicalities because last night he already briefed the papers that I accept that I misled Parliament, which again the wording of it was quite tricky for him. But I know a lot of people just getting sick and tired of all this nonsense anyway, and Boris Johnson's saga and Partygate and everything else. But for them, it matters for the Westminster establishment. The idea is that he says, looking back, I unintentionally misled Parliament because I didn't see them as parties. Well, he's talking about the parties that he went to, or the birthday party. He claims that at the time, I wasn't informed by others in Downing Street that there were other gatherings going on. I wasn't informed that about my own birthday party. I just walked in and it was a surprise party. So having said that, and we already knew this defence line, Harriet Harman is chairing this committee, and enough of the members of the committee already hate Boris Johnson. Are we actually going to get proper justice, an actual objective and impartial verdict, whether you like Boris Johnson or not? If he is guilty of actually lying to Parliament, directly and knowingly lying to Parliament, then or rather if an actual professional and balanced and impartial committee gives that verdict. But if he, on a technical level, if he's not guilty, let's just say, I don't want a committee chaired by Harry Harman to just still declare him as guilty anyway, because that's not really healthy as a precedent going forward. Because yes, it might be happening to Boris Johnson that a lot of people don't like. But if you set this precedent, then it's going to happen to the next person that you might like. You know, a prime minister that could be the hero of the people, or another politician in general. If they could do it to someone like this, then they could do it to someone else going forward. It's all about precedents. Everything in this country, the judiciary, the parliamentary system, everything is about precedents. And if you set a bad precedent, then that's going to be the problem. So we all have to make hope and wish that this is done properly, even if you like or dislike Boris Johnson, because this could set the trend for the future. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the live chat. And what we're going to do, if you could stay with me, please. we're going to end this live stream, and within the next 5 minutes, I'm not going to go anywhere. We're going to set up another live stream for the Brexit vote, and we're going to show you the result live, and then we're going to come back throughout the day and see what's going on with this Boris saga. I didn't want to focus too much on Boris. We've already done about half an hour, 25 minutes on this. We covered what was said the main part of it, and of course my analysis. We will come back later on when we get the result. But within the next 5-10 minutes, let's go and talk about Brexit, because that's still going on. That's actually more important because of the deal that Rishi Sunak has now made. Thank you so much, everybody in the live chat. Don't forget, I'm going to end the live stream. We're going to come back in 5 minutes, a different live stream. You're going to get the notification, hopefully. I'm Mahyar TC, and we are the media.